Hey, what's up guys? I want to do a video review on this knife that I'm going to show you here. This is the Benchmade model 43 Balisong. Everyone kind of knows about the Benchmade model 42 Balisong, and as I mentioned recently in another video, is that there was actually multiple models in the line. The 42 lasted the longest. It was the first one of the series and the last one to go out. But currently none of them are made anymore. So it's definitely a modern interpretation of a Balisong. Some modern materials used on this one, and definitely some modern machines that are used to make it. It is literally identical to the Benchmade model 42, as well as some other models. The only difference is the blade style. Just to recap again, the Benchmade model 42, the most popular one, has a Weehawk style blade, a very common Balisong style blade. This one here has a Bowie style blade. All right, so we have the basically a clip point. Really nice lines on this. I really like this interpretation of a Bowie blade, and overall I think it's just a really good looking knife. I happen to like all the 4X models. A lot of people have their preference. Some people like the 42 but don't necessarily like the blade that much, so they go for the other models like this 43. They think that looks better than the 42. Some people like a Tanto or Tonto version, so they'll go for the 47. I personally owned a BM43 which was the Spearpoint version in D2 steel, because most of them for this generation had the 154 cm, which this one does have 154 cm, Rockwell 58 to 60. But I like the limited run in D2. The problem with the 46 was that Spearpoint blade really hurt with ricochets and bouncing off your fingers. The back portion of it, although it was not sharpened, the grind was very shallow. Came down to probably a ½ millimeter to a full millimeter, and bouncing back and forth in your knuckles really beat you up. As far as the other 4X models, besides the 42, what was closest to the 42 was definitely the 43. In weight and flipping, how it basically handled as you manipulated it. The 46, like I said, it definitely was more painful. I didn't feel too much of a difference in weight. However, the 47 had a heavy Tanto blade, and it was a little bit more blade heavy for sure. And if you happen to flip a 42 and then like literally seconds later flipped a 47, you would notice the difference. It was noticeable, the weight in that blade, and it did handle differently because of that. So I think that if you're used to flipping a 42 and you want that same feeling but maybe a different look, the 43 was definitely, you know, the best choice in my opinion. I do really like this blade style. I think it's really cool. Of course, nowadays, being that the 42 is even harder to find, there's even more demand for it, and they get pretty much whatever people ask for them. As long as it's not ridiculous. You're not going to sell it for 800 bucks, but it's, you know, because all these different models I'm talking about are discontinued and they're no longer being made, the market controls the value. All right, so if let's say there's 10 of them for sale all around the world and every single person's asking 500 bucks, then that's what they're going to cost, 500 bucks. Right now, a really good deal on a 42 brand new, I would say has to be about 250 bucks would be a great deal. And that seems crazy because, I mean, I remember, and a lot of the Balisong guys remember, in only recent years, you know, when the 42 was still popular, but still in production, you can get one all day long on the forums for maybe 150 bucks, you know, and in some cases that was brand new. I remember getting one used. It was pretty used, pretty beat up, and I got it for like $86 shipped. And nowadays it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you can do that. Well, you can't do that these days. It's all relevant. It's like when people say, oh, I remember when gas was $1. Yeah, gas was $1, but you know, your monthly wage was a lot less. So things are relevant in that sense. But yes, these are definitely collectible items. They're collectible knives. They're fully functional. You can buy them and flip them and enjoy them and use them. That's the best part of these Balisongs. All the Benchmade Balisongs are high quality production Balisongs, which you can use. You can take this knife, open it up, and you can cut something. It has great performance. You know, they're not just made for flash. They're not just made for the hobby of flipping. They're not just, you know, built so you can put it in a display case and stare at it and gawk at it. They're actually functional knives. And a lot of people think that Balisongs in general are gimmicky. No, they're not strong. They stink. They're horrible for cutting. That couldn't be any further from the truth. the people who say that just don't have experience with high-end Balisongs, because usually they don't have the access to them. You know, how are they really accessible? Most people who are kind of into knives, I mean, if they even get a Balisong ever in their hands, it's most likely a very cheap Chinese knockoff of something. And they think, that, you know, automatically get an idea that they're all going to be like that, and they all stink. Well, of course, that's not true. There are plenty of amazing Balisongs out there. So anyway, the 43, like I said, is definitely a very, very cool model. The 42 being a staple, I've always said the 42 is one of, not the very best production Balisong in my opinion. I would say that the Microtech Tachyon, I believe that's how it's spelled, or Tachyon, it's Tachyon, I believe. That came out, you know, a few years ago. Well, more than a few years ago now. Time does fly. That, in my opinion, was the best all-time production Balisong. And then a close second would have to be, believe it or not, the Archangel from Cold Steel. That was a fantastic production Balisong. And then the 42, in my opinion, would be right after that in number 3. So everyone says it's the best knife ever. In my opinion, it was definitely up there. One of the more commonly found high-end production Balisongs, but no longer. And the problem with these things too, even like the 43 or the 47, you know, all the variants and different models that came out over the years, if Benchmade does go back and make these again, they're not going to make them identical. They'll always be different. You know, look at the new 62. And I hope to get one for review in the future. But look at the alterations they did, the modifications they've done. You know, I don't think that most knife companies in general, if they're revisiting an X production knife, like a discontinued knife that people are kind of, there's a demand to bring it back, they usually don't, in most cases, do an exact copy of it. They'll always try to enhance it, try to make it better. And in your opinion, it may or may not be better. You may think it's worse. Like the 62s, people are catching, or a lot of people are saying that it's not as good. It stinks because it doesn't have a spring latch. You know, this is the spring latch version of the 43. The original ones had a T-latch. You know, this is a further generation, maybe a Gen 2 or Gen 3. That's just how it is. The blade steels have changed. You know, the original T-latch ones had a lot of 440C in the blades. And as time went on and things progressed, they upped the ante. They got, you know, 154 cm. They went with the cool spring latch, which was, I mean, this is the first spring latch, spring-loaded latched Balisong. I mean, this was very innovative. You know, when this came out, it's like, oh my God, I got to get one. That's the coolest thing ever. You know, I don't have to worry about it coming in contact with the blade. There's no noise with it. It's just, it was awesome. People like this. So the 62 comes out and people go, oh man, that stinks. It's horrible. I wouldn't pay that much for that. Those are the kind of comments I read when people post videos on it. That's specifically a repeating comment is, why is it so much money? It doesn't even have a spring latch. This spring latch doesn't cost a lot of money to make. So that's not really the issue. It's just a design issue. And of course, a production issue. You know, when they make Balisongs over at Benchmade, they have to stop their machines. You know, they have to not make other knives for the time being to make these. You know, a lot of people ask me too, like, why did the 42... You know, why did they stop production on that? It was such a popular knife. Why would they ever stop making something that sold so well? Well, something to take in consideration is the law. And Balisongs are illegal a lot of places. For stupid reasons, yes, but they're still illegal. So as a company, they wouldn't want to focus so much on the knives they can't sell everywhere, as opposed to, in my opinion, their bread and butter is going to be a lot of their military stuff. You know, if you get military contracts and you end up selling thousands and thousands of knives, they're not going to be Balisongs. They're going to be good fixed blades. They're going to be a lot of your folders. They're going to go to outdoor shops and, you know, working with companies like Harley and H&K. You know, you'll see all this type of stuff from Benchmade. And that's one of their, I believe, deciding factors as to why or why not they make as many Balisongs, you know. Because it's a very common, you know, it's a legitimate question. Hey, we want these. Why aren't they making them? Are they dumb? They make money. Why aren't they making them? Well, there's a lot more to the picture than any of us will really ever know. Unless you're sitting in that boardroom with Benchmade, you know, you're not going to know their motives or why or why not they do things. But anyway, definitely a sweet spot in time, in my opinion. I love this knife. I absolutely love this knife. I love all the 4X models. I think they're all very cool within themselves. It's not like I like this more than the other one because the blade shape is better. I like them all for different reasons. You know, I like the Bowie. Or Bowie, depending on how you want to say it. I happen to say both. It really depends on my mood, I suppose. But whenever I say Bowie, I always think of David Bowie for some reason. So anyway, yeah, it's sexy. I mean, look at that. That is a beautiful Balisong, and it's a beautiful functional knife. It's not just for flipping. You can use these things to cut stuff. But anyway, some construction on this. And you'll notice again, now this has to do with production costs and production time. Okay, you'll see like, you know, some of the Benchmade Balisongs that are sandwich construction. People say, it's not as good, or, you know, why can't they do like a milled version like this? This is milled titanium. Okay, so each handle is one piece of titanium that they basically shaped and cut out. They cut the channel out here, they cut the holes out, you know, they completed everything, softened it, you know, rounded the corners, the whole deal. It's a milled titanium handle. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is the difference between the milled and the stainless versions. A lot of people would make the assumption that titanium is, you know, this is titanium, it's expensive. And yes, titanium is very expensive. And then you compare it to, say, a stainless steel version of a knife. And let's bring back the 62, for example. You know, comparing titanium to stainless, well, they went with a T-latch, they went with stainless steel. Why are they doing all these things? You know, it's so much cheaper. In reality, titanium itself, the material to buy titanium is more expensive, much more expensive than stainless steel. However, stainless steel wears on the tooling, the cutting bits and so forth on the machines at a lot of factories. So when they were making these, the production 43s and 42s, that duration of time, believe it or not, it was cheaper to work with titanium. Okay, don't forget, this was years ago too as well. The base metal prices were quite different. So although it was more expensive, it's not what it is today. So you can't compare today's prices to yesteryear, you know. But as ridiculous as that sounds, yeah, stainless steel was definitely more expensive, not because of the steel, but because they kept having to replace their cutting bits because it was, I guess, more dense of a metal. Titanium, the benefits is it's just as strong or stronger than steel, but it's definitely lighter weight. Again, the weight on these are 4.1 ounces. That's the whole 4X line. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back because I'm not sure if the 47 was another tenth of an ounce heavier or not. It definitely felt heavier. I don't know that for certain. So I will tell you that at least the 42 and 43, I know for a fact, were all 4.1 ounces, the titanium versions anyway. They're very smooth to flip. They're very nibble in the hand. They feel great. There's no sharp corners. The width of the knife, you know, the thickness of it is spot on. Some thicker Balisong, like the older 80 style Balis, they're a little bit harder to flip. And of course, once you get thinner, like some of today's real cheap Chinese ones, they just don't rotate in your hand as much or as easy. There's a lot of factors like that, like little things when you're flipping it. Overall, I think it was a really great knife. It really is, and it still is a great knife. It's just unfortunately they're not making it anymore. But what I liked about this one too, one of the changes they did with the newer generation when they went from T-latch to the titanium versions, is they did add a little choil here, which of course aids in sharpening. Let's take a look at that logo there, the Benchmade logo, and the 43 underneath it, and on the reverse, 154 cm, Benchmade USA. Give you a close up here, starting from the tip. Yeah, this Bowie style blade did definitely offer a more acute tip for penetration. I mean, overall, I think it looks nice, but for functionality, it was a smaller tip. A little bit more belly there as well than the 42, just because of the clip point blade. You can see Torx bit construction, no different than the 42s. Of course, the spring latch, as I mentioned before, if I give you a close look, this is basically how it works. There's a little spring, and it's attached, it's wrapped around this pin that goes through. Of course, wrapped around the base of the latch. All right, so as you turn it, what it's doing is it's lifting the spring, giving you tension, so it always wants to pop back to that middle position. That's how the spring latch works. Definitely functional, even in the open position here. Does easily lock. Okay, if you do want to lock it open to actually use it, squeeze the handles together. How that works, you see the round-headed latch here. Another thing a lot of people just don't like on the 62, how they changed that shape. And I would definitely agree with that. I definitely like this generation's latch system, the shape. It was great for manipulation because you have the just the comfort doing latch drops and holding that for different moves. But you can see the cutout here, it's kind of a mushroom shape, so it just slid right in. It was perfect. And of course, because of the spring tension, when you squeeze the handles together and release that, it just pops right open. All right, so let's talk about price for a second. It's really hard to talk about price because this is no longer in production and has not been made in years and will probably never ever be made exactly the same anyway. It's a collector's item, okay? So the market will definitely drive whatever price or its current value, really. So I can tell you right now, these are, I mean, this one sold for $450. I would say that's a fair price for what it is. It's not a steal of a deal, but you know, there's not a lot of them for sale. That's just how it is. 10 years from now, maybe these will get $1,000 each. But you know, you have to put it in perspective. If I say this is $450, which it is, and someone bought it for $450, that $450 is going to make this person extremely happy. And they're going to have a knife which is extremely hard to get. But you do have to put this in perspective. Like, think of the overall picture of things, you know, in life in general and hobbies. Compare this to another hobby. What if you're into collector cars? You know, the average decent collector car can be anywhere from $15,000 to like $30,000. And then once you get the car, you got to keep putting gas into it. Most likely you're going to either modify it, or let's say you keep it original, you're going to keep buying cleaning products to shine it up for all your car shows. You know, no, it's not as cheap as, say, I don't know, collecting rocks you find in your backyard, but a hobby is just that. It's a hobby, and they all cost money. So for $450, if that makes you extremely happy for a very long time, and you have a product that you just can't get anywhere else for any amount of money, then I think it's completely worth it. I think anything in this life, its value is whatever it's worth to you. You know, of course, you don't want to overpay for something. So that means that if on average it's selling for, you know, this price, then you don't want to pay too much more than that. But really, at the end of the day, it's whatever makes you happy. And you know, if this ends up being $1,000, maybe it's an investment for that person. I don't think knives in general are great investments. There's plenty of other things in life you can invest your money in. You don't really know what's going to be popular, what's not going to be made anymore, that kind of a thing. Certainly, you know, there's money to be made, but it's really, really minute. You can hold, I mean, let's say you bought this knife for $200 back in the day. You know, you're talking about sitting on $200 for probably 4 or 5 years just to double your money. Now, it's a great investment if you happen to have a safe full of knives you're not doing anything with. But I wouldn't purposely, because I'm only addressing this because I get this question all the time. Should I invest money in knives? It's like, you know, to make money down the road. It's not an investment thing. You buy knives because it's fun and it's a hobby. And you buy rare knives because it's fun to know that you own these rare knives that are beautiful and they're part of knife history. You know, and you show them off to other knife collectors who can appreciate it. But you don't buy it for investment pieces. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I'm not sure what the new owner is going to do with this. I'm not sure if it's going to sit pretty in a safe somewhere or in a display case, or if they're going to flip it. It'd be really nice to know if they're actually going to play with it and, you know, use it and cut stuff. But either way, it is certainly a part of Balisong history and knife history, and just a beautiful knife. And like I said, I'm really, really honored to be able to hold one here and to show you guys in a video. If in the future I ever get a chance to get a like a 47 or maybe even a 49 or something, I will of course make videos on it to show you the differences. But generally they're all pretty much the same. So it's a spring latch Benchmade model 43 Balisong. It's a beaut. If you ever get a chance to get one, I'd certainly suggest picking one up. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your time as always, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.